Welcome to another episode of Late Night with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Welcome, you guys. Welcome very much. I'm happy to see you. Let's see, we got Happy Hippie, Star Shoemate, Scott S, Jenny Rayner, Bernadette H, Monique Lee, Zelda's here, Pam Ham, glad to see you guys. Welcome. Did I say Happy Hippie? Yes, I did. And of course, Trump Reaper and Diane London. Welcome, you guys. Thank you for joining me. We have some stuff to discuss tonight. Some of it, actually not a lot of it is happy. I would say the happiest news is that my son has learned how to whistle going like this. And I'm jealous as hell of his ability to do that. He just figured that out. My whole entire life on this planet, I've wanted to be able to whistle like that, and he's got it. So congratulations to him. I'm going to figure it out at some point. Valerie G, welcome to you too, my friend. Okay, so let me get this graphic up here on the screen. Tonight's episode is focusing on the Jim Jordan joke. You know I can't help alliteration. And who bombed the hospital? I can't believe we have to ask that question, but it's that fog of war thing. And hello, Olivia. I see you there. Welcome, my friend. So yes, let's move forward. For a brief summary, we've got the musical chairs of the speakership in the House. We'll be covering that. President Biden is taking an unprecedented second trip to a war zone. The guy that they were calling Sleepy Joe. Nothing sleepy about that man, my friend. And yes, of course, last but not least, the very sad news, extremely sad news. Hospital was bombed in Gaza, killing hundreds of people. Mostly children, I'm assuming, because Palestine or Gaza, whatever you want to call it, is half children under the age of 18. If you're just joining, it's your first time here, please remember to hit the subscribe button. And on your way back from subscribing, also, please do me a favor and hit that like button. It looks like, look at my hand, it's perfect. I've been practicing this. The thumbs up icon looks just like my hand right now. That's skill. That's talent. And also, if you were unaware, I am doing a subscriber class on Twitter, not X, but Twitter. Hello, Cha-Cha. I see you, my friend. Welcome, Cha-Cha. And my most recent lesson is covering making things trend on Twitter. Trending and hashtags, the do's and don'ts of good hashtaggery. So that content is exclusive to my subscribers only. If you're interested in learning about that stuff, just hit the little pink button on my profile there. Let's jump right into it. So today, I can't remember. Actually, no, I can remember the last time I watched the proceedings for a Republican trying to gain a seat, because it was just this past January, for crying out loud. These are crazy times, because that's the sort of thing. Hello, Katrina. That's the sort of thing I was never interested in watching, ever. the proceedings of of a House vote on who's speaker. I never really cared about that stuff ever before, ever. So, as Diane wants to know, do I have a schedule for subscribing spaces? So I'm trying to do spaces for subscribers twice a month. And originally this past Sunday, I wanted to do what I want to do is do a general spaces, like public thing, and then just for subscribers only. And this past Sunday was supposed to be for the public, but I got caught up with my daughter's friends' parents. So that took up a very large chunk of my afternoon. So that threw off my whole schedule. Anyway, life goes on. You have to live. And sometimes you have to put the cyber life to the side. That's how it is. So anyway, as I was saying, I never really cared about Congress, House proceedings, and all this stuff. But now it's become important because we have knuckleheads, running the asylum, the inmates running the asylum, and Kevin McCarthy. I forget how many Scaramucci's he lasted. Was it 23 Scaramucci's? Not even a full 9 months before he was given the old heave-ho. Heave-ho. So he's no longer speaker. And then Steve Scalise was the next man up, the self-subscribed David Duke without the baggage. Hello, Elaine Prieto. Nice to see you, my friend. Who the hell describes themselves as David Duke without the baggage? You guys, I mean, everybody here knows who David Duke was, right? You're not doing yourself, out of all the people, out of all the people, Steve Scalise could have chosen to compare himself to without baggage. He could have chosen, I don't know, John Boehner. He could have said, I'm Paul Ryan without the Ayn Rand, or, whatever. David Duke. You say David Duke, you immediately think of a white hood with holes for eyes. Right? Come on. Hello, Amy Taylor. I see you. Thank you. Welcome. So, yeah, he did not last very long, and he had to take himself out of the running. His candidacy for the speakership kind of reminded me of that, that GIF? It's it's a scene from The Simpsons where Homer's dad or grandpa walks into a bar and then walks right out. He here's Bart, and then grandpa walks in, puts his hat on the hook, does a little circle, takes his hat off, puts it back on his head, and walks right out. That was Steve Scalise's tenure as speaker candidate for the speaker. And finally, we have this smiling buffoon, this jacketless jackass, Jim Jordan. By now, you've all Googled Jim Jordan wrestling, and you know that the thing that he's most notorious for was having been informed that the team doctor for the wrestling team at Ohio State University was fondling the wrestlers on that team. He's a wrestler. He himself was a wrestler, and I guess he was an assistant coach, and people knew that this was going on. They knew enough, and I'm not just making this up. This is from firsthand accounts from wrestlers who had stepped forward and spoke up. What's up, Lynn and Smila J? I see you. Welcome. They stepped forward and they said, hey, he knew. he knew and didn't say anything. And not only did he not say anything, but there were reports that he was calling people up on the team and crying man tears, begging them not to say anything about him. He's also known for not having passed anything, and no bills, no legislation. So why would they choose this insurrectionist traitor? Yeah, he was deep in the weeds with Trump on that Stop the Steal thing and the fake electors, all of that stuff. There are supposedly so-called moderates. I don't, you know what? They should never refer to anybody in the Republican Party as a moderate ever again. Except for possibly the 20 people who didn't vote for his ass. Because in the very first round of voting, that's right, first round of voting, he fell short. 20 votes. 20 votes short. And at the top there, I don't understand why. I'm sure there's some kind of logical, procedure, explanation for why Hakeem Jeffries couldn't get it just with his majority, his 212, his unshakable 212 Democratic majority. He should, that's right there. That's the ball game. He's got a solid majority. Nobody stepped out of line. Everybody voted straight. Hakeem Jeffries. They had 6 people voting for Kevin McCarthy, the guy that they just booted. They just yanked the speaker's gavel away from him. 7 for Steve Scalise and 6 for other. I wish I was sitting there wishing that okay, thank you, Scott. Let me share this. This is the reason why 217 needed, sadly. However, there is a deal, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. There is a thing where if you get a certain number of people who vote present, then the threshold lowers, right? Am I right? I'm right, aren't I? Yeah. Yeah. Instead of them just voting for someone else, if they just vote present, then the threshold lowers. And I know this because, and thank you, Jenny Rayner. Jenny, you're so good to me. Please, a reminder to hit the like button. I think it was 2018. Was it 2018? It was one of these recent elections where Speaker Pelosi was having some difficulty. I think it might have been with the squad, right? Lowers the threshold. Thank you, Scott. Yes, that reduces the number. Okay. And I think maybe 5 people didn't vote. She still had enough. I think she passed. She got over the hump with something like 209 votes. 209, 210, something like that. Yeah. Purple Cactus Games. Welcome, Purple Cactus Games. That's a cool name. That's fun. Adam Jones has returned. Welcome back. Adam Jones is our new friend there. What's up? And everybody say what's up to Purple Cactus Games. There they are. And Wilbur McCarthy, there you are, buddy. I see you. Welcome back, my friend. So anyway, Jim Jordan fell short, and originally they were going to do a second round today, but they were trying to work people over, and over the past week, they knew for a week that they were going to try to do a vote today. and they couldn't wrangle enough. They were doing some backroom arm twisting. Yeah, some close talking, getting in people's faces, whipping. There's a thing they call it a whip. Whoosh. It's not an actual whip, but the whip is a person. It's a role. It's a person who, gets people in line, so to speak. Saying, "Come on, we need your vote. God damn it! What do we need to get your vote?" Let's see. Let me switch. Oh yeah, okay. This was a lovely moment there when minority leader Hakeem Jeffries cast a vote for himself. Standing ovation. I thought it was quite cute. I saw Speaker Pelosi standing up and smiling with her little blue suit. She's standing right there to the right of him. I thought that was cute. It's nice, it was nice to see that kind of solidarity and support. I like seeing that. Every once in a while, I'll get some trolls, replying on my tweet. What, we're supposed to all think alike and no disagreements? No, that's not the point. The Democratic Party we're notorious. We're notorious for going in all different directions. That's what makes this even sweeter. It makes this sweeter because the Republicans used to love saying Democrats in disarray. That's why we are loving the Democrats are unified. Yeah, we're unified. This one time, we're unified. And let's see. So right now, as we speak, President Biden is on his way to Israel. And actually, before he boarded, first let's take a moment to pause and reflect on how unusual this is. For all intents and purposes, President Biden is going to a war zone. A war zone where actual bullets and bombs and missiles are dropping and flying and bursting everywhere. Okay? That's some scary shit. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how protected you are or you protected you think you are. A bomb is a bomb. Yeah, unless you're in like a super duper triple quadruple armor plated thing, everybody's vulnerable to that shit. So I pray for his safe return. I pray nothing happens to him, but I also think it is a pretty badass statement that he's going out there. It's not the first time he's done this. It's the second time. The first time he went to Ukraine, whatever. And he walked in the streets with President Zelensky. It's also a badass move. Again, people say, "Oh, he's protected. He's got Secret Service." Secret Service can't really do that much against a grenade dropped in the midst of them, or a bazooka blast. That's still, that takes some balls. And there he is, not once, but twice doing that. Okay, so Asmila J saying, I thought they canceled the meeting, but I didn't really see much news today. You are correct. They canceled a meeting. President Biden, this is a very good point, and thank you for reminding me, Asmila. President Biden was supposed to meet with King Abdullah from Jordan. And Star Shumaid, I see you there. Of course, I remember you, and I'm sure everybody else remembers you too. Welcome back, my friend. Good to see you. Uh, yeah, so he was supposed to meet with the king, with King Abdullah in Jordan, and that meeting was canceled before President Biden even, uh, you know, closed his seatbelts on the plane on Air Force One. That rescheduling was already happening because of what happened today with the hospital. Um, hang on, let me just. Oh, there were pictures I had for the Ukraine thing. And let me just remind you before we move forward, please remember, if you're just joining us, remember to hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner of this thing. Also, please hit the thumbs up like button. I'm a pro at doing that thumbs up thing now. All right. So let me cut this music off so we can. Okay. President Biden is, as I said, heading to Israel in the midst of a war, what is essentially a war between uh, Israel and Hamas. And I say it like that because Hamas is the group that launched that horrible, brutal, heinous, monstrous attack on Israel on October 7th, just a week ago. It's disgusting. Uh, and as a result, Israel, they said, we have a right to defend ourselves and we are going to defend ourselves. And they started making plans for a ground invasion. They started warning people, residents, civilians to evacuate, which that is a tall order because in Gaza, there are 1.1 million people. It's not that easy just to, move 1.1 million people, especially when they cut the electricity and they cut the water. So they're saying that they are punishing Hamas, but really, they are actually punishing the people. And that's kind of how it's been for as long as anyone can remember. Hamas does their bullshit. They do their dirty shit, their terrorist shit, and then the Palestinians, they pay the price. And oh, they kidnapped. Now the number is up to, originally last time we spoke, the number was around 150. Now the number of hostages, including foreign hostages, is somewhere between 200 and 250 people. And they started saying today, either today or yesterday, they started saying that they were ready, ready to begin releasing hostages. And before I go any further, let me throw this up from my man Wilbur McCarthy. Thank you for putting this up here. Twitter is so full of misinformation and disinformation, it is hard to know what is true. All the embassies in the Mideast are under attack if you listen to the wrong information. You hit the nail right on the head. Thank you for that. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So, what's the deal with this? What is Hamas's conditions? Hamas's condition is, they said, well, the right conditions have to be met. What is that? One of them is that the bombing has to stop. I don't know what the other conditions are, but it seems like it sounds like bullshit to me. I don't think they're going to give up their leverage because the hostages are exactly that to Hamas. They are human shields, essentially. Israel cannot unleash the full fury of what they are capable of unleashing on Hamas. And yes, unfortunately, that includes unleashing the full force of what they're capable of unleashing onto Palestinians. They can't do that as long as there are hostages in the mix, right? There's some of our folks there. Over 20 people, over 20 Americans are being held hostage. I don't know how many exactly. Who knows? But we do know that the people that are being held hostage, we want them out safely. Not just the Americans. They want everybody, every last hostage released. And as you can see, people are very passionate about it. These are grandmothers, these are grandchildren, these are sons and daughters and friends and wives and husbands. Not just Israelis, too. I think the majority are Israelis, but some people are from Canada. Some are from Europe. Some are American. So yeah, I want every last hostage returned. I don't know how they're going to do it, um, but I think. Oh my God, I put this in there because, well, it was just awful. And if you haven't heard about it already, I'm sorry to share this with you. But there was a 6-year-old Palestinian boy who was stabbed to death by a deranged, hateful 71-year-old man who had gotten so caught up, so riled up with anti Palestinian rhetoric. He stabbed this little boy, 6-year-old little boy, stabbed him 26 times. 26 times. What the fuck? Whew. And I've seen things, I've seen comments, videos on Twitter, people on the street being interviewed, in the aftermath of the attacks on Israel. People on the street saying, turn Gaza into a parking lot, flatten it, they're saying. Flatten it, kill all of them. You know who else is saying shit like that? Lindsey Graham. Lindsey fucking Graham, United States Senator. Flatten them. Excuse me? Lynn B putting up here saying they said he listened to right-wing radio. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it because they get people amped up, riled up. Look, I despise the heinous cruelty, the acts of just the inhumanity committed by members of Hamas. But that's not going to cause me to stab up some tiny little 6-year-old child, innocent child. And it's also not going to make me come out of my soul to say, flatten Gaza, destroy 1.1 million people, the majority of whom are innocent. 50% of all Palestinians right now are 18 and under. And that's a horrible, horrible, horrible factoid. That they're living in that they're growing in that environment where every day is a hazard, where every day they don't know what it's like to have freedom. The other day I saw, and I got to admit, you guys, I'm a little bit, I'm more than a little bit ashamed about my ignorance when it comes to this issue, to the issue of Israel and Palestine. I'm a little bit ashamed of it. I spent a lot of years of my adult life telling people, I'm going to just make an analogy here, telling people that I was not good at finances, right? That was my, like my default, offload thing. Like, I don't want to deal with finances, so you deal with them for me. And what ended up happening was my finances were fucked up. Yeah, I ended up owing, at one point, I owed the IRS like a ton of money, and my credit rating was shit because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't taking the necessary little bit of extra energy to focus, to be a grown up and focus on my shit. Now, um, I realize I can't continue to just say, well, I don't know anything about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, so I can't say anything about it. That's bullshit. That's just lazy. Yeah. So little by little, I'm educating myself and learning. And I just wanted to share with you guys, if you've seen this already, just bear with me. Um, Ali Velshi did a video. This video, by the way, is a few years old, apparently. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh no, this must be like, this must be somebody used AI. It's a deep fake. It must be a deep fake that somebody put together, very cleverly put together. Um, and had Ali Velshi saying all these things about Palestine. But no, it's actual, it's real. And it was broadcast on MSNBC a few years ago. And boy, it just fucking it took my breath away. It knocked me for a loop. So I want to share with you what this what this piece is. Give me a second here. Share.
One thing clear, Israel has a right to exist and to defend itself. That is an indisputable fact. But so do Palestinians. And that's a fact that's often ignored. Palestinians are, at best, third-class citizens in the nation of their birth. The idea that it's even remotely controversial to call what Israel has imposed on Palestinians a form of apartheid is laughable. One look at a current map of Israel, Gaza, and the occupied territories conjures up only one other example: apartheid-era South Africa. The Israeli government, on an ongoing basis, declares parcels of land on which Palestinians live to be either of military or archaeological importance, causing residents to be evicted. Sometimes there's a court case, and almost always the Palestinians lose. Yet months or weeks later, that same important land suddenly becomes home to a brand new Israeli settlement. As more and more Jewish settlers take over land on which Arabs live, the occupied West Bank becomes de facto more Israeli and, in the explicit hopes of the Israeli government, more Jewish. This is a long-standing attempt and a deliberate attempt to force Arabs who have lived in that land, sometimes for hundreds of years, out. It's It's an attempt to dilute their presence, because to have Arabs as full participants is, in the opinion of the Israeli government and their courts, diluting Israel. Just prior to the pandemic, I toured many of the contested areas and homes from which Arabs are being pushed out, both in Israel proper and in the occupied territories. Palestinians don't control the important parts of their lives. Palestinian families are refused permits to build or renovate their homes. When they connect their homes to the municipal water supply, Israeli soldiers sometimes cut the pipes. When they attempt to harness solar energy because their homes are not on the grid, Israeli soldiers literally come and remove solar panels from their homes. I spent an hour and a half traveling alongside an elderly Palestinian woman who was being transferred between 3 ambulances from Gaza to the no man's land in between and then into Israel to get cancer treatment. 3 ambulances over the course of 1 mile, more than an hour to cross the border. That's how Gazans live. Without medical treatment because Israel prevents it. Without electricity much of the time because Israel prevents it. Without the ability to fish in the Mediterranean Ocean because Israel prevents it. Without an airport or a seaport because Israel prevents it. Like Israelis, Palestinians also have a right to exist and to defend themselves. But there is no one willing to help them do that. Not the Israeli courts and not the U.S. government. What the U.S. also shares with Israel is the belief that Hamas, the political party that governs Gaza, is a terrorist organization that calls for the destruction of Israel. Hamas is supported by the majority of Palestinians in Gaza. Hamas may not be in the best long-term interests of the Gazans, but peace hasn't really worked out for them. Faced with an Israeli government which pens them into what has been called the world's largest open-air prison, they have chosen a government that most of us wouldn't prefer, one that is not given to negotiation and moderation and respect for its neighbor. Israel needs a new approach to the Palestinians, and America needs a new approach to Israel. After more than 7 decades of not just being deprived of land from which they were evicted, Palestinian frustration runs deep. It may be worth going deeper than what you may hear inside your bubble and understanding the depth to which the Palestinian people are subject to apartheid in their own land, deprived of basic necessities, and subject to relentless civil rights violations. This is not a secret. It's out there for you to see. You just have to look for it.
Boy. Yeah, when I saw that, I was stunned and really disappointed in myself for having, lived in a bubble that whole time. I guess I had heard, the main thing I had heard was that uh, Israel is basically fighting for its own right to exist, and that was the page that I landed on, and I just stayed on that page. I didn't bother to turn the page. I what I heard was that there were groups of people who were saying that Israel did not have a right to exist. And I, vehemently disagree with that. But two things can be true at the same time. Israel has a right to exist, and Palestine has a right to exist. And we have to get both sides there. I feel like Israel is probably closer to being there. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the things I just heard Ali Velshi say about how they're denying basic rights to the Palestinians, like the rights to build, medical care. They have to take 3 ambulances to get cancer treatment. You know, what the hell? What the hell? Um, so that brings me back to this hospital attack. I remember I said the majority of the people living in Palestine right now are children under the age of 18. So the I don't know that there was an exact figure that has come out of this incident today. It's the Baptist Hospital, and some people are saying that it was a misfired rocket from Hamas. Some people are saying that it was the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, that they targeted this hospital. One report I had seen um, said that originally they had the IDF had claimed responsibility and said that it was a success and that they were targeting terrorists. And then after after the fallout came and they heard that so many civilians were killed, then they backtracked. That's what I heard. Here's the problem: is that there is a ton of, as Wilbur McCarthy said earlier, there's a ton of misinformation and disinformation on Twitter right now, and it's hard to tell who's telling the truth. I think we need an independent uh, party to verify this information. This is why I am you like if um, you look at my page, my Twitter page, you're hardly going to see me saying anything about this conflict. Why? Because I have a big audience and I don't want to be that guy spreading misinformation about this. It's the very same reason that I don't um, you know, share news about Ukraine, for instance, because I don't know whose goals I am helping, um, whose misinformation I'm passing along. Am I helping Hamas? Am I helping the IDF? You know, I don't know. But yeah, an independent group needs to be able to step forward and say, we have independently verified that this missile came from X. Scott wants to know, is saying, an investigation would be able to identify from the debris, wouldn't you think, BDD? Sure, it could. But what if Hamas was able to get its hands on some Israeli weaponry, for instance? Because another thing I heard, and this is what I heard on the TV on MSNBC. I don't know the guy's name. You've all seen him by now quite a few times. He's got a very slim face. He's about my complexion, long black hair. He said um, that the weapons, the bombs and missiles that Hamas uses, they don't normally kill hundreds of people. They just don't have that oomph, that their their bombs don't pack that same punch. Um, and it's normally the Israeli bombs and missiles that they're bunker busters that can kill hundreds of people. So what if it was Hamas and they misfired an Israeli missile? And then they go digging through the rubble, and lo and behold, it's shrapnel and it's got a label on it that identifies it as an Israeli missile. What do you do then? You know, um, it's a long shot. It's likely that whoever fired it, it can be traced to who's actually responsible for it. Maybe it was Hamas using an Iranian missile. Then what? Is this an international incident? There's a lot at stake, actually, at figuring out who was responsible for this, because Israel really does not want they don't want to have to claim responsibility for this. They're trying to win the they're trying to win in the court of public opinion, and it's already not going well for them. And I think that sucks, because I feel like Israel was pushed into they were pushed into this particular conflict. There's no way. There's no way after the kind of heinous attack on their own citizens happened. There's no way that they don't come back with the fury. I remember 9/11 like it was yesterday. I remember that shit. I remember how angry I was. I was angry enough. I was walking around in downtown Brooklyn, and there was one of those army recruiting centers, and I thought about it. I actually thought about it for a minute. I was already, in my opinion, I was already way too old to even seriously consider that. It was 2001, so I had to be 30 something. Call it 30. Yeah, I think it was 30 something because I'm 68, 98. I was 33 or 34 when that happened. But yeah, I was fucking mad as hell. And I wanted some payback. I spent that whole week crying, you know? And I didn't even know anybody that, personally, I didn't know anybody who had died in 9/11. But didn't matter. There's people who live in Kansas who were far away from the action, from the atrocity that was committed. They were mad as I was too. So George Bush at the time was so unpopular. People hated George Bush. They hated him. Some of it was, was leftover residue from the hanging Chad election that he, was basically he was given that he was given the office, and Al Gore walked away from it. He didn't want to drag America any further into that. So yeah, people couldn't stand George W. Bush, but all of a sudden, his approval rating shot up like a rocket. Oh, thank you, Trump Reaper. The only person I despised more than George W. Bush was Rudy Giuliani. And Rudy Giuliani suddenly, you know, suddenly got a pass from me and a bunch of other New Yorkers who were like, all right, Rudy, you were in the right place at the right time. Thank you. Thank you. And we appreciated what he did. It's too bad what happened to Rudy Giuliani, too. It's too bad because he had built up so much goodwill from that, and he squandered it. Squandered it by, uh, you know, uh, by leaning on that shit way too often. He used it and used it. And then people were like, you know what, Rudy, shut up about 9/11 already. Anyway, my point is 9/11, we wanted some payback, and that's what we got. And unfortunately, it also got us into a war that we had no business being in Iraq. Yeah. Yeah, they lied to get us into that war. Yellow cake. They had Colin Powell. They had Colin Powell stand up there and tell other world nations that they had found, the yellow cake, the stuff that was, evidence of weapons of mass destruction. There was no weapons of mass destruction there. They didn't care. That's what they used to get us into that war. So there's a lot of shit writing on who attacked this hospital. And I have a crazy imagination. um I would say I'm closer to being a conspiracy theorist than anything else. For the most part, I do keep that in check. I do keep my conspiracy theories under control. I don't let them out of the box. But yeah, I often I wonder when news is being presented to me on TV. I'm pointing like this because my TV is in front of me. When news is being presented to me on TV, I wonder what are you trying to manipulate me with? Hmm? You trying to make me feel some type of way. MSNBC, I would say the coverage, and it's the only channel I watch. I'm not watching CNN because fuck CNN. But MSNBC is probably 85% um, on Israel's side and only 15% showing the Palestinian perspective. And that's kind of messed up. Um, Trump Reaper, I don't want to see World War III. I don't. And don't tell me that we're in World War III already. I don't want to hear that. Even if we are, I don't want to hear it. But yeah, no, I don't want to. I don't want World War III. I don't want my grandchildren to see World War III. I think I think at this point there are enough intelligent people, um, wise people, calm-headed people who can come up with solutions to navigate us around, over, through, and under any new world war. Um, I see a world war could happen if one bad actor, unleashes a nuclear attack. Then we kind of have to respond. I think maybe not, depending on who is attacked. If we are attacked with that, yeah, we kind of yeah. So I don't want to see that happen. Starship 8 saying Biden is the right person, right temperament, waited his life for this moment. He's ready. I think you're right. Who do you want in the seat of power? Somebody who's a hothead, um, or somebody like Joe Biden, who spent so many years doing foreign policy, so many years in the government, in the system, knowing the ins and outs, going over scenario after scenario after scenario. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel good about that. Uh, Jenny Rayner says that there's news that Russia threatened using tactical nukes. Yeah. Um, that's scary. I think they wanted it to be scary. I don't even think Russia. I don't think Putin is stupid enough, really, to go down that road. There's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from nuclear war. Everybody loses. Who wants to rule the world where we're in a nuclear winter for hundreds of years because you know um, because some jackass decided that he'd rather pop his nukes open than take the L. Putin, you got to take that L. I think it's possible and I think it's probable that that Ukraine can defeat Russia. The only question is, what kind of off ramp will Russia have? Will they be able to save face, or will they be completely humiliated? Starch race. Russia is begging North Korea for weapons that probably don't work, like muskets. That's funny. That's good. Um, yeah. So there's a lot of tensions. Tensions are riding high on Twitter right now. It's brutal there. People are angry, uh, pointing fingers of blame. Some people are saying, what did I see? Israeli jihad. Wait, no, Islamic jihad. Uh, uh, yeah, so Islamic Jihad is apparently another group. I don't know if they're an offshoot of Hamas or if they're their own group, but there's a group apparently called Islamic Jihad that is being blamed for the attack um, on the hospital. That's interesting. If it's a completely separate group, it's not Hamas and it's not Israel. So both sides can actually say, it wasn't us? Huh? Did they just invent this group, or has it been around for a while? Has that group been in existence uh, for a break glass in case of emergency type situation like this, where you need a ready to go scapegoat? I don't know. I've never heard of them. Doesn't mean that they, that they're not a real group. It just means I personally haven't heard of them. But you guys know I'm ignorant in this thing. Slowly educating myself, but all these new groups, give me a minute. Give me a minute to figure shit out. Um Starship Mate wants to know, do I think news outlets should reverse course uh reverse course and air the Trump crazy releases? He's blathering on a new level. Yes. Yes, I absolutely do. I think that they should completely expose him for the blathering idiot that he is. Unfortunately, I think CNN and MSNBC are likely already doing that. Probably not as much as they could or should. Um, but the real um, the cable news networks that need to be doing that are Fox News and um, Newsmax, mostly. Oh, Catholic radio used jihadi to scare listeners into thinking they were taking over the law in New York City. Yeah, I remember that, Jenny. Jenny Rayner here saying Catholic radio used jihadi to scare listeners into thinking that they were taking over the law in New York City. I remember back in the day, there was a thing where what is the name of that law? It's oh my god, I should know this. um it's supposed to be like an Islamic strict Islamic law. uh Sharia. There it is. Speak with Jay. God damn it. Thank you. Sharia. Yeah, there was this time when that's all anybody could talk about. Oh, Sharia law is coming. They were using that to try to scare people into thinking, oh, we can't let any more Middle Eastern migrants come over here because they want to bring Sharia law with them. They bring that. it's a wrap. Then everybody's gonna be wearing burqas. Yeah, yeah. Sharia law. Um, and Trump Reaper, I have no sequel news for you guys yet, but not to worry, it is coming. It is coming. Yeah, I'm definitely, without a doubt. Um, so yeah, I don't know what else to say about this other than I am doing what I can to educate myself to learn more about what I don't know about this situation so I can have an intelligent conversation about it and a balanced conversation. I feel like we don't need to be in a space where it's all or nothing. We need to be in a nuanced space where we understand that that in this instance both sides have a right to grievance. Both sides, right? You cannot um, you you cannot keep having attacks from Hamas, attacks on innocent civilians. I remember attacks on Israel since I was growing up, you know, people, kids, teenagers getting blown up in pizza shops and on buses and in discotheques. I remembered that shit growing up, hearing about it. It's been going on for such a long time. Innocent people. So Israel hits back and they hit back hard. And you would like to think that the Palestinian people would rise up against their leadership and say, hey, y'all need to figure out a better way to deal with the Israelis because when you strike at them, they're hitting us. They're hitting us. They're not hitting you because you are hiding behind us. You are using us as your shield. And from conflict to conflict to conflict, it just keeps going and going and going. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I think probably some independent observers or something, have to come in and mediate this shit, mediate the hell out of it. Isn't that what is normally done? Let's say on a much smaller scale, when you have two sides that are fighting, two sides, a husband and a wife, and they don't necessarily want to live together, but they have to come to a solution that doesn't involve one or both of them being carried away in a casket. You got to come up with a solution that allows them both to continue living and to be able to live with the verdict, to live with whatever. And 9 times out of 10, how it used to be, I think that the husband would probably end up like relinquishing half of what he has. Um, or if they had some kind of prenuptial agreement, then maybe only 45%. Or whatever. But the point is, there needs to be an intermediary that steps in. Both sides have to negotiate in good faith. Enough is enough. And Scott, thank you for the comment there on the balanced tenor. I don't see it, but if you see it, I'm happy. Thank you. Smila thinks that the situation goes back too far, and so that a mediator would not work. We need something. I think maybe okay, it's not one mediator. Maybe it's a whole group of people. When you have an equal number of people representing the Palestinians, an equal number of people representing the Israelis, and then an equal number of people representing both. I don't know, something. There's a way to figure out this. There's a way to figure this out. People smarter than me uh, that are good at this kind of calculus and should have been able to figure this out. Maybe AI. Never occurred to me, but after this show, wait, hang on a sec. Let me ask AI now. Let me ask Chat GPT. Chat GPT. Let's ask you. Let's see what you say. How do we solve the Israel Palestine? Oops. That's not what I typed at all. How do we solve the Israel Palestine conflict? Okay, let's see what it says here. Is an incredibly complex and sensitive issue, and there's no quick or easy answer. It involves a long history of disagreements and emotions from both sides. However, here are some general steps that could help move towards a solution. Peace talks, two-state solution, international mediation. Ha! 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 Wait, here, let me share this with you guys so you can see. Share screen. Okay. So, peace talks, two-state solution, international mediation involving neutral third-party mediators such as the United Nations or other international organizations can help facilitate productive discussions and provide oversight to ensure agreements are upheld. Ceasefires, humanitarian aid, educational and cultural exchange, respect for human rights, global support. And last but not least, it's not on this list here, but I think, let's see, remember, finding a result to this conflict is challenging. It will require the cooperation and willingness of both Israeli and Palestinian leaders and their people. It's also important to respect the complexities and emotions involved and to be patient in the quest for a lasting peace. So, what I think is that the solution to the Israeli Palestinian conflict, it's going to take a long time. If we were to start tomorrow and focus on it every day, and when I say we, I don't mean you and I mean we as in the human race or whatever, the powers that be. We're to work on that daily. I think peace could be achieved in 10 to 15 years. Maybe less, but 10 to 15 years. And I mean, this would involve, I've said this often, I'm going to say it again. So if you ever hear this somewhere, you'll say, that was Brooklyn Dad's idea. I think it needs to start at the grassroots level. I think for Muslims, I think the imams, when they have their Jummah services on Friday, and for the rabbis when they have their service in the synagogue, you know, um, that's when the religious leaders need to connect with the with their people, the people in their communities, and hit them where they live and convince them. It's not going to happen with one sermon, I'll tell you that. It'll happen over a period of time, and they have to be consistent and relentless, nonstop. They got to commit. You can't have any hardliners in this effort. You can't have any people who really are not committed to um, committed to seeing peace. I don't think Hamas wants peace. They don't. If their motto is the death and destruction of the Israeli people, then they don't want peace. The only time the only time they will find peace in their minds is when Israel has been destroyed. And that ain't going to work. That's not working. So um, they got to go. Um, but yeah, I believe it's possible. I think I hope and I pray that we do get to see that in our lifetime. Mainly so I can say, I called it. And also because, yeah, at the end of the day, the children are suffering. Children are suffering. Half of Palestinians are under the age of 18. It's just, and that's such a sad, sad, sad thought to me. Trump Reaper, I agree with you here. Trump Reaper says, I get the feeling that most Israelis and most Palestinians are sick of this. Yeah, I think they are too. Yeah. Okay, you guys. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Late Night with BDD. Do before I sign off, do I have any? You have any questions for me? Aries Wanderer, I don't know if I said hello to you before, but if I hadn't, I am now saying it to you. Welcome. Ooh, Starshumate says 10 to 15 years, new generation, it could be possible. Yes, I hope and I pray for that. Ooh, Wilbur McCarthy, you're banging out some good ones tonight, my friend. Says the biggest fallacy of the so-called Abraham Accords was they didn't include the Palestinians. Excellent point. In fact, the unless I'm mistaken, I think the Abraham Accords didn't even involve anybody who was fighting with each other. Like, it was like three. Was it three different nations that were all like cool with each other anyway? We're just gonna continue to not fight each other. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Da, 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 da. There we go. All right. So my friends, once again, always a pleasure to see you guys. I feel like I got out what I wanted to get out about this situation here. I'm going to say if you can resist the urge to contribute to misinformation, just take a beat. Take a beat. Just sit back, right? It's fine if you don't report something first or 10th or 20th, you know? Just wait. Sometimes when it comes to this very hot situation right now, just let things play out. Wait for verifiable sources to come out and confirm things before you go and potentially contribute to misinformation. I got tricked last night, by the way. I got tricked. I saw one of those stupid posts and something told me that this is fishy, but I saw other sources that, you know, that I trust sharing it, and I was like, well, they said it was it's legit. All right, I'm in. And it was a Truth Social post that was doctored, and my spidey sense was telling me this is not real, and it wasn't real. So then I deleted it. So anyway, if you guys have not yet gotten your shot, please do so. Remember to keep your social distance 6 feet or better. I'm going to add something that Jenny Rayner just threw up here, and always be Biden calm. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening and rest of your week. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys here next time. I love you all. Peace. Vote blue all the way. Vote blue no matter who. Hey. Don't worry, guys. I'm letting the music recycle there. There we go. Scott says this was a calming episode. Oh, thank you for that. Fun fact, you guys. Magic used to be my nickname when I was growing up. And it's funny that they would call me Magic, right? Because they had trouble pronouncing Majid, which is the same number of letters, 5 letters. It's the same number of syllables, 2. But yeah, Magic is easier to pronounce than Majid. Yeah, okay. And another fun fact, my fantasy football team is the Brooklyn Magic and has been that since 1999. Never won. And so far this season, I am 5 wins, 1 loss. So there it is. Aries Wanderer, I will pray for your husband to stop snoring. Oh, I will also say, I don't not to worry you, but they say if your loved one is snoring, maybe have them checked out, for sleep apnea. All right, you guys, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. You need to leave.